Hi, this is Michael. Thank you very much for your attention. This video, it is a follow-up to a video that we have already posted on YouTube regarding the object shown in the Pentagon video. One thing that we didn't touch in our first video is the childishness, ignorance that is going around from some of the debunkers that are trying to portray these pilots and these videos as nothing but either equipment malfunctioning or that the pilots are not really well trained to identify some of these things. And one has to be seriously ignorant to come up with some of the theories that some of these debunkers are coming up with. And to address these debunkers, we need to watch the Pentagon video one more time. We know that you have probably seen this video hundreds of times. However, we want you to watch this video one more time. But as you do so, we want you to pay close attention to what the pilots are saying and how the pilots are saying it.
Dude, this is a drone, bro. There's a whole fleet of them. Look on the ASA. My gosh. They're all going against the wind. The wind's 120 knots from the west. Look at that thing, dude. That's not our LNS though, is it? It's not. That is the LNS, dude. Well, if there's like... Look at that thing. It's rotating.
Now, we don't know how many pilots are involved in this video, but clearly we can hear that it's more than one. So we are just going to addressing as a group of pilots, okay? So here we have a group of pilots a few thousand feet up in the sky looking at this object. And in their emotions and wonder of what they are seeing, these pilots are questioning and they are answering each other's as a group. For example,
there's a whole fleet of them. Look on the ASA.
This pilot is asking them to do something, okay? And in his voice, this pilot, he is answering to the request of the other pilot, which it was, look in the ASA. And so now, as this pilot look in the ASA,
my gosh,
he sees that there is a whole bunch of these things around. So there is nothing he can do about it but to say, my gosh. So as to say, there are a great number of these things. And whatever they may be, I have never seen anything like this before. See, this is what the exclamation is all about. Another pilot comes in and say,
they're all going against the wind. The wind's 120 knots from the west.
So this pilot message is, these are real objects. Because not only are the objects going against the wind, but he is also stating the speed of the wind. Now listen to the tone and surprise in this pilot's voice when he said,
look at that thing, dude.
Meaning, look at that strange object and what is it doing? Because look at that thing refers to an object and not to any weather phenomenon. Also, notice that the pilot didn't ask, is that thing real? Because the object is real. There is no question about it. Another pilot comes in and he answered very calmly. Listen to him when he says,
it's rotating.
Notice that in his voice, he's analyzing this object and he's trying to figure it out. What is it that I'm seeing? Notice that none of the pilots question that statement. You notice this? None of the pilots says, no, it is not rotating. It seems to be doing something else. Because everybody is looking at this object and this object, it is rotating. One very important note none of the pilots are questioning if this thing is real, and no weather phenomenon is ever mentioned. So here we have a group of pilots that in their words of emotions, the intensive tones that they are using in their vocals, that is telling us these pilots are not looking at an ordinary object. I want this audience to understand that these pilots are looking at something incredible. The reason why we are saying this is because we want the public to understand one thing about this Pentagon video. When this Pentagon video first appeared a few years back, some of these debunkers were claiming this was all a hoax. And so there were a whole lot of negative comments coming from this video. And the negative comments became so loud and so many that the United States government, Department of Defense, stepped forward, came out and said this. And of course, some of you may be thinking that perhaps we are being too critical by calling these debunkers of the Pentagon video childish, ignorant people. But look at the facts that these debunkers are asking the public to dismiss, disregard, and completely ignore to make their theories fit their silly thinking. For example, fact number 1. A multi-million-dollar technology known as the radar had spotted some of these strange objects in the area. Because as it turns out, in this video, we only see 2 objects. But the radar system was spotting more than one. Fact number 2. The pilots, as a group, they were physically present there where this object was. So why would the pilots, as a group, risk to throw away their careers by doing or saying something that they know very well the onboard camera system on the jet fighters are not going to corroborate their words or their actions, and worse than that, when these pilots land these aircrafts, they are going to have to face a debriefing group, and that onboard camera has to have visual proof to justify their words and actions. Fact number 3. And this one, it is the one that we find the most insulting of all, because one does not need to be a pilot to understand it. You see, these debunkers want us to ignore the abilities of the human brain associating images, emotions, and words, which is part of our daily routines. So this is an example of the reaction to an exciting image. Now, take a look at the following image. It is a penny. What kind of emotions do you generate by looking at this image of a penny? Our point is that we don't hear these extraordinary words of emotions from these pilots because they are seeing an ordinary object. Again, simple images and simple events will never cause the human brain to generate overpowering emotions. But the propaganda in YouTube has it that the radar system could have made a mistake, and that the camera on the onboard aircraft was malfunctioning, and also that the pilots are wrong. All the pilots saw something that they could not identify. And as a group, all these pilots, they overreacted to the situation. Simple as that. And according to the propaganda passing around in YouTube, the debunkers found all these facts in their home kitchens while doing their homemade tests. And this is where the childish and ignorant debunkers really have this whole thing wrong. Because the onboard infrared camera system of a jet fighter, it is designed for a targeting system, meaning that these infrared cameras can be 100% accurate in detecting an object. But because the infrared camera uses most of its power for scanning the heat signature of an object, this causes the resolution details somewhat to be degraded. And what that means is that this video, it is not 100% accurate in describing this object. So why exactly are the debunkers using the video from an infrared camera to contradict what the pilots saw, when it is the pilots' visual eyes contact that are used to try to identify this object? And again, what these childish debunkers don't understand is that the pilot did not see this video. The pilots, with their own naked eyes, they saw this object. And so the pilots are 100% accurate in what they saw. And they let us know that in the video with their emotional voices. And now we come to the second part of this video. For those of you who didn't see our first video, let us show you what we found this object to be. And so now we want to share with you how did we arrive to these conclusions. Back in the 1990s, we were approached by some people who wanted to convert some black and white films into color. And they were looking for volunteers to help them out to do this. Anyway, as we got involved with this project, we found out that these videos were about different fires and that these people were trying to convert these videos into colors for the use in the training of future firefighters. So because we didn't have any experience converting black and white video to color, we had to take a course. And in this course, we were given some black and white images to convert to color. But when we were looking at those images, they represented some problems to us. The images that we had in black and white, some of the fires, they were mixed up with snow. So we had to separate one from the other one. And this is one of the problems that we had with those images. And so now what we are going to do is to bring you back to that 1990 class and to do with you almost the same thing that they did with us. And that is, they showed us one image and they described it two different ways. And we had to pick which one of those ways was the right one. As you watch the following images, we want you to know that this is not about testing how smart you are or trying to trick you or anything like that. This is about how the human eyes can be confused by the coloring black and white, making it very difficult for the average person to identify details in a black and white image. For example, take a look at this image. In these colors, black, white, and grayish, it is very tough to describe it. So, could this be a typical winter, dark, snowy day in which we see on top the lights of a snow trail resort with a bunch of skiers having a good time, and at the bottom we see a city illuminated by its own lighting? Or could this be a forest fire burning out of control, illuminating the darkness of the sky. This image, it looks more like some type of forest after a fire went through it. In the background, we can see what seems to be smoke still burning. Notice the ash all over the place and the burnout ground around. And again, the human eyes are the victim of the coloring black and white. Here we have another image. And here, it looks more like too much snow piled up on top of the roof of this house, causing it to collapse. But in this color, black and white, it seems to be some type of fire hiding from the human eyes. And here we can see what a typical windy winter snowy day can do to an old abandoned construction site. Because in this image, it looks like the wind is blowing dust, debris, and construction material all over the place, making this image look very strange. Look at the ash burning colors all around it. Could this be another fire that we are looking at? Also, in this image, one very important fact is that the burning intensity of the fire reflected by the yellow coloring, we cannot see it. All we can see, it is all this blackness, whitish, and grayish coloring, making this image very difficult to identify. You see? Because in as much as we try to identify what is the subject in these images, the coloring black and white makes it extremely difficult and impossible. And so now that we have shown you all these images, which one do you think a real fire and which one do you think it is not? Okay, and so now let us compare your notes with our images. And it is from images like this one that we have gotten the heat signature that we see in the Pentagon video to show you the magnificent image of this burning object.